Hello friends. So today we're going to talk about automation testing tools. Till now we have studied about software automation, different types of software testing techniques, different types of there are two types of the technique approach, testing technique approach, and so on. Now the time has come to study these tools. What are the different types of tools? The first thing, and what are the uses of the tool? When to use, why to use, we'll see. I have not make a comparative chart, but we'll see or we'll study soon the tool encounters. The first thing is about studying of the testing tool is first Jira, not the food thing we use at the starting of the preparation of the or the cooking. We use the Jira. It's not that Jira. This is about your testing tool. So Jira has is an issue, that is it's an issue and a project tracking software to plan, track and manage your projects. See, certain things like preparations of your project management, there are tools. Concept of your scheduling, there are also tools. Checking or managing the deadline, there is also tool. For each and every software engineering, for each and every software design, software testing, we have a tool, or there have been a lots of tool introduced from the beginning until now, and each and every tool, either it's a new one or it's a updated versions. So, first, second thing we found is what is the basic of the Jira tool, or what is the use of this? As mentioned earlier, that it helps for your planning. How? Like it's planning, tracking, and managing your projects. Now you don't have only one project. Like in a big firm, big software testing company, or in a big firm, we don't have only one project. We have multiple projects, and that too a very complex one. We are not in a type of in a shape of creating only two or three models. There are plenty of models. There are thousands, beyond thousands lines of code are executed every day. So how to manage it, how to tackle it, when to what is a design schedule, what is a testing schedule? It's certainly that human bound to make a mistake. So that is why the software has introduced us in a such a way that all these things are put together in a software, and the software is taking care. Like today is a submission of your design plan. So I have your has your design plan is ready yet? That software itself will prompt out submissions of design, team A, from so and so project, the name of the project, and so on. So it comes like it appears like if you have forgotten the deadline, if you're working with something like a project management, like planning, tracking. So these tools helps you to identify, or it helps you to for team collaboration, release software with confidence. Then what are the basics? Let's study these tools about. First we studied the introductory part of the Jira. Now we're going to study of how actually this works. So the first thing is about the issues. Like it has a three concepts. Like I have just made a board like issue, project, and workflow. So what is the issue? Like every bug or defect has to be come out, has to revealed. It's not that every software is a defect free or a bug free. When it comes for a testing, definitely the works has to be out or defect has to be out. So like enhancement request, basically anything to be created and tracked is considered an issue. Now this is not the issue we mean. Like what is the problem? Issue means like every task or for a bug enhancement request. Basically anything to be created and tracked. For like bug is to be like I have to introduce a bug to see whether this software is working according to the requirements, or still it's giving me something else output. So I'm created bug for this. This bug has to be created. If not, if I found any defects related to the output, I'll see that to part later. Then I have second is a project, that collection of issues, like anything to be created or tracked, or it's considered a request. Everything is a collection of issues. And what is a workflow? That means it is a stepwise execution. That means an issue goes from the starting, from the creation to the completion. Like it's a defect cycle kind. how the defect cycle of bug report cycle works. Like it's open, then it's created, then it's solved, resolved. So who did it, why, when, and so on. So all these parameters helps you. So that means it's an issue goes through the starting from creation to completion. Later we have like study of testing tool, that is Jira. That means workflow in this case is like created or open. So work is in progress. So once it's completed, it is closed. So as I said, like a defect cycle. So it's a bug tracking. Now, what happens is defect life cycle in Jira. So Jira was built to track and manage bugs in software development. All the tools are developed to find the defect, bugs, and so on. So since then, it has been expanded to help team plan and track all the aspects. Certain things are not in our hand, like planning from planning to requirements and collecting all those requirements or requirement elicitations or requirement scope. Whatever the requirements are defined. If I'm talk about requirements in testing, certain requirements like your hardware your hardware configurations, your software configuration, is your software be compatible with my hardware currently, so as to test whether this not I'm talking about the compatibility, but when I'm going to test whether it will able to, I mean, can I install it on my my laptop or my desktop to see the work in progress. So in way, like it helps me to define my team plan, because it's not my alone work. The entire thing is built on my team plan and track all the aspects of the software development cycle. Then we have from backlog grooming. Certainly, there are things like they are still in a backlog, they are still pending, they need to move away. But what happens is when the urgency or when the emergency of this software comes to you, you leave aside your work and you start working on the current software or finding those bugs, finding those defects. But from your backlogs, now your software keeps or maintains a track of how many projects you are working at, how many defects you have tracked it. So Jira software will help you to design to be connective tissue for the software team. Then again, what again we see here is the capture of the what are the features. So we see what we seen earlier was about your planning or tracking. Now we see about capturing those bugs. Now when we capture bugs anywhere in your software projects with Jira software. Once you identified a bug, create an issue and then add all relevant details including description, severity level, screenshot versions and more. So what happens with this, that once this is about the bug life cycle, that bug I have identified that this is for this line there is a bug. Then I created an issue, then added all relevant details like I found the bug, when did I found, like all this documentation work. But what happens is which part of the soft module, what line number, what is the statement of that, and so on. So including description, severity level, and also the screenshots version and more. So this capture everything. You don't have to do personal documentations. Earlier when there was software, but that was not so updated, like uh, all these requirements were asked, you need to fill up each and everything, you have to write your own script. Or till now we are also writing a script when it comes for your unit testing, we'll see those things later. But now what happens is just you need to write a script, you need to make changes and you yourself make those changes to see whether there is a bug, whether there is a defect. But earlier what we used to do is like we itself make those sentences changes in such a way that we need to identify where it will be wrong. Then issues can represent anything from a software bug. So there's a project task to leave a request form and each unique issue type can have its own custom workflow. So as said that it's a collections of your, I mean the process the project is. So now what happens is from the software bug, a project task, that means from a leave request from each issue type means it identifies each issue type and it have its own custom workflow. That means that it is workflow oriented. There's nothing apart from the work that I need to design, I need to make certain, like, how I make a divide those things modules. So I have to make those own custom workflow. I mean, it's all automated, nothing like manually. We have to make as a software tester. We have lots of work to do, so we don't have to do all this custom workflow and all. Then assign and prioritize. Then whom to assign this and why to assign this, because there is an urgency of this issue that this has to be resolved and the team's workload capacity. So what happens is assigning those bugs with a few keystrokes from the ticket. Now, this certain things is little complicated, but because when it comes, if you remember your ticket word, it's from your uh, you study if you studied about cryptography. So this ticket, like in encryption, there was a ticket, and at the decryption there was a ticket. So this ticket from the ticket, I mean, this is not a ticket you purchased for your traveling. It's a different thing. So a few keystroke from your ticket, and giving importance to your bugs. See, bugs you will find in a number, in a huge number. So then you have to prioritize which bug to resolve. Now the bugs can be from a small issue to a big issue, depending on your code, what you have written. Now when I'm talking about the bugs, they could be like, you can see the bugs and you can solve it orally, but we cannot do that. We have to like follow and follow those issues, make it a custom flow. And it is as simple as dragging and dropping them in your team backlog or do the column. Then next you have track bugs to be done. Always stay in know by tracking bugs and issue to your team's workflow. Now, this Jira software helps you to identify your workflow, like, has this issue been resolved or it's still working, it's under working or under progress to resolve. Then the transition issue will trigger notification automatically informing the next viewer that okay, now this is work free, now you can go for the next step. Since this is generally for my tracking of I'm resolving the bugs, but we'll see the different types of tools yet to come. Then we have the Bugzilla. Now, Bugzilla is an open source issue or a bug tracking system that allows developer to keep track of outstanding problem with their product. Now what happens is, again, this is an open source. The open source means that you don't have to pay for this. It's independent, that you can download and you can start working. It's again, this is a bug tracking system, not so bad. Sorry, bug tracking system that allows developer to keep the track of outstanding problems with their product. Now what happens is, it's again a tool which helps you to find the defect. Tracking system allow developers and tester to track all the outstanding defects, and so this can be linked with your Jira, your Quncy, or your ALM, etc. So now this Bugzilla is developed with the help, I mean, in Perl language, and it still runs on MySQL server. Now these are the features. Currently, I have noted some of the features of the Bugzilla, that how it can be an important to solve your bug related issues. So we have like search option with advanced features, email notifications, history of all the changes, whatever changes we have made up till now. All these things are documented under the history, attached report. It is also a secure one. So all these things, all these points are referred. I'm not going to read every content, every point, but these are the features of the Bugzilla that it can help us to maintain, I mean, to it can help us to notify in our emails. It can help us to till now, whatever we have done, whatever the work we have done in Bugzilla, the histories are updated. It is secure and it is customizable. A customizable user interface, so we can modify it, we can make in a custom, that is we can make in our own way, and it's easy to configure and very easy and stable to upgrade and for maintenance. Then we have features. Okay, now another features is like optimized database structure for increase and performance scalability. Of course, this feature should be supported by every testing tool, because the scalability issues comes up when we talk about like when we increase the number of systems. Now, excellent security to protect the confidentiality. This is one most important thing about the tool, that it should protect about the confidentiality. It should not leak out everything, because even the testing, I mean testing team from senior level to junior level, everyone should not know. It should be kept in certain, hidden manner, in a some secrets manner. So confidentiality or integrity should be maintained. Then advanced query tool that can remember your searches. Sometimes I forgot my searches, what was I was searching, and later if I remember, that was too late. So it helps to me remember what I was searching, like Google. So integrated AML capabilities and then comprehensive permission systems. So what are the benefits we see? We see that it improves communication. So how it improves communication is like by emailing, and we have that email features are updated, then you have increased quality products. And okay, customer satisfaction, if it is positive, then yes, everyone likes it. Increased productivity, that means it's very helpful, very useful. Then what are the advantages? One is the most advantages, it's open source. So for the open source, we don't have to buy, or we don't have to purchase a license copy. It's open source and anyone can download it. So that depends upon the OS, which type of OS or Windows we are using. Then it's easy to in usage, and it's easy. User interface is understandable. So most important is user interface. If I cannot understand by downloading the software, what is the use of making the software in such a way that it looks chaotic? But it's user interface, so that means user interactivity is easier. For people without technical knowledge can also we understand that. So it integrates with an emailing system, so means it has a provisions of email, like keep you updated, currently what is the task is going on, what are the works found, and so on. Then you have next is your text director. Software automated tool is the test director simplified test management by helping you organize and manage all phases of software testing process, that includes your planning, creating tests, executing tests, and tracking defects. See, whatever tools we studied up till now, will have its planning, creating its tests against the bugs, defect, and so on, executing tests and tracking. So every tool will have its own tracking, will have its own planning, tracking tool, and also it's about the issues resolved. Then with the test director, you maintain a project database for tests. So every tool, they have their own database, because these bugs and the bug resolved issue need to be stored somewhere. So they have their own database for the system, and we can access it. From a project, you can have a build test set groups of tests executed to achieve a specific goal, like to achieve a task, like to execute those kind of testing, we can have those groups of tests combined together. Then for example, like you can create a test, that means it checks a new versions of your software, or one can check a specific features. Now, next is about the test director. It goes with your works together with your Windrunner. This was Windrunner was in 2009. We had like Mercury Interactive Automated GUI testing tool. So all the tools we are studying are all automated. But Windrunner was earlier we used. Now we use a test director. So Windrunner enables you to create and execute automated test scripts. So that means you have to write your own test scripts. Maybe you need to modify your code, like give a false information input and check with the output whether the output is executed accordingly what you say, according to your test cases, whether it is true or false. So you include Windrunner automated tests in your project and execute directly from your test director. So that means it is a report defects that helps you again with your defects life cycle, about the number of defects found, about the resolving of defects, and so on. So defects records are stored, again they are stored in database, which you can track and then can resolve later in the software. And so what happens is, what are the tasks is, there are three types, like planning, the tests, running, and tracking those defects. Now, if you introduce, now you don't have to introduce, you have to find those defects. So once the defects are found, so this tool will help you to find the defect, track those defects. Once it's found, you have to track until it's resolved. You have to see what are the functions of, or what are the output after resolving the defect. So again, we have planning test, running test, and tracking defects. So planning tests, what are the planning tests we do? This is just like a test plan, what we have studied or we have read it earlier. In the earlier session, we have seen about a test planning, like defining your test goal, what type of tests you are conducting, what is your test steps, how you automate your test, analyze your test plan later, then who made, you document your test plan. That means you define, you identified, you analyze that who did, what was the issue, and so on. So test planning, that requirements, how many people have had invested in that, in those project, in test planning, sorry. Then what are the types of tests has been carried out, what are, how many test cases were written, test scripts in automated test, and so on. So this planning test is nothing but your test planning. Then you have, next is your running test. So how do you define it? That means you create test set, then create a test set. That means you have to create a script. The script, once it's created, executed the script and analyze the testing progress. So it helps you to build, it helps you to organize your test runs by building your test sets. So this is a subset of your test in your project that runs together to achieve your specific goal. That means to see whether your output is according to the customer requirement or not. If it is not, then you have to work on it. So that means you need to build a test set by selecting the test from your test plan and assigning this group of tests in a descriptive name. So again, this is the same thing, but we are studying in identifying or customizing in a tool. So then then the test can be run anytime, and you can build up your application and to see whether those defect has been resolved or not. So when a defect is detected in the system, now this is the entire steps I've been documented, like what are the software steps, what when a defect is detected in the software, what happens is, so in the defect report to the test director database. That means all these defects are being stored, are being reported to the test director database. And what happens is, then you review the defect, you assign it to a member of your development team, like you have found a defect, now this has to be resolved. This software will not resolve, this software will help you to track the defect. You have to call from your development team. You have to notify this to your development team, and within the development team, certain developers will solve this defect. So again, repeat the open, the once the open defect, that means I have reported the defect. Okay, now sorry, I have not, I have, but the tool has reported me the defect. Now when I'm working on it, that means it is open. It's not that open is what, if the book is open, no. That means I have noted the defect. Now I'm working on it. That means I'm open. I've seen what is the defect, where the defect lies. The tool has notified. Then what I'm doing is I'm building a test. I'm building a new patch to resolve that defect. So what happens is, after the defect is corrected, that means I build a new patch to correct that defect. My defect is corrected or my defect is solved. So if defect, again I'm going to test it. So if not, if again the defect does not occur, that means change the status of the defect. That means it is resolved. But these defects can be counted as your quality assurance later. On the upcoming session, we'll see about your quality assurance, how they going to harm. I mean, they affect when there are number of defects or uh, number of defects found, or number of uh, errors or bugs found. Now, what happens is, reporting a new defect. Reporting a new defect means, earlier okay, you have resolved one defect, you have built up a new patch, Now you resolve it again, there is a defect, so reporting again there is a, so this is a cycle that you need to understand. This, there is the defect is open, you resolve again, there is defect found. So this new defect at any stage of your testing process is by adding defect record, and all these defect things are stored in a database. So later you can study what, how did they encounter, what was this, what was it, what was the status, this all going to solve by developer. So when you initially report a defect to the project database, you assign it as a status new. So every time when I encounter with those defects, the status will be the new, and accordingly they are numbered or named sequentially. Next we have about the IBM rational functional tester. So what does it? Rational functional, now this is about your functional tester. Earlier that what we have seen, those were those automated to like test direct and so on. So till now I hope that you have understood. Now these are different types of tools you can use, you can work on. I won't say that this is for your unit test, this is for your functional test. These are automated tools which can help you to find, identify those defects. The record actions are stored in RFT, that means rational functional tester. Now, a rational functional tester creates automated functional. Now, this is all about a functional testing by recording the actions of user on the system. Now, under uh, test and replaying the actions on demand. So that means that this is all for the history purpose. That means rational functional tester creates automated functional tester which helps for your recording. Now, earlier what happened was there was a playback. I mean, whenever you need to test, you pause it for a couple of seconds or say couple of minutes. You pause that, and later you can play back to see. Like you don't have time to watch it. You can pause it and then play back. So that was kind of a testing we identified. And what happened was you can see those number of defects it could pop out. So now we are talking about this rational functional tester. So this functional test by recording the actions of user on the system which is under test and replaying the actions on demand. So now I don't want to see, I don't want anyone to see, I don't want to work currently. Now I'm working on number of tests currently. So what happens is I'm just working on test 1 suppose, and they are test 2 test 3 in front of me. So I don't want to see. What I'll do is I will put it pause, and later on play on the replaying again. I will replay, I will watch when we need to watch, when we need to execute those tests. So this, that means the recorded action which are stored again in a simple programs, that is known as script. So this script helps. These are in Java programs. These are coded in Java programs and helps you to analyze later when you're done with certain work. Then the tool can test the success of tool can test the success or the failure of any step with a checkpoint. Now there is a checkpoint like which compare the actual result produced by the system under test and with the expected result. That this is what I was telling you earlier. That what happens is this, when there is a defect encounter, when you solve the defect, so before the defect is resolved, check the output, and after the defect is resolved, check the output. Both the output will be same, and you have to compare to from where, from your test cases, that this output is according to the customer requirement or not. If not, again you have to check the code, that means defect has not been resolved. The same way, the checkpoint, which means that comparing your actual result which has been produced under the system test after after that execution with your expected result in RFT. So at the time of recording, now this is different. This is at the time of recording, you have to check both the results. Then we have what are the benefits. Like now the IBM rational functional tester has the benefits. Now, what are the benefits? Like reusability. So you can use this again and again. That means tests can be instantly be run with different version of applications. So this helps you reduce your time during regression testing. Now, regression testing, if you remember about your changes. So if there is any changes, go for regression testing. It may be unit testing, integration testing, system testing. Now, different types of testing. Even if there is a change, it can be impacted with your regression testing. Now, consistency. That means your output will not going to change. In case of defect, your output, yes, in case of defect, your output going to change. But every time you execute your RFT, that means functional testing, the script will remain the same. The exact steps will be undergone each time. Then productivity, that means automated testing is fast and can be run whenever without an extra necessary. And this how it's integrated with your quality manager. That means every time this quality manager will allow you to execute test script. So this features, I mean all these features of different tools is lastly is related to your quality. Then again the features, like again we have like broad skill match, like they are tie up with quality assurance is with basic testing. I mean they are this has been designed for the users for varying technical capabilities, ensures your quality assurance with the basic testing and other experts in your business. Then you have IBM Script Assure, that means advanced IBM technology learns user interface characteristics. See, I did not read everything because this is a very simple thing that we need. We just read and we got to know, okay, okay, these are automated scripts. Then the last is Eclipse Java Developer Kit. Now, Eclipse is entire Eclipse is of IDE, and you have in a JUnit, you have different types of testing. It's a toolkit together, and the script is in the language of Java. So whenever if you want to write your own script, you have to you first you should know about your Java language. Then comes your Selenium. The Selenium is about your, like it's a web based. Now you can work with your Chrome browser. Like it's Python plus font, like time to expense. So it's a like application though works, and it makes you fast and scalable. It will decide to use which button to trigger. Again, it uses JavaScript. So every script if you use, or whatever script you write, you perform in Java language. So what is the Selenium? So actually it is a portable software testing framework for your web applications. Then we have tests which can be written in HTML tables. So you have to again for this Selenium, if you works with your Selenium is a web-based actually framework of web applications. So it's a web-based technology. That means you have to minimum you should know your HTML codes like table or coded in number of programming languages. So mostly web browsers follow HTML. Okay, they follow this also HTML5. You have sorry, and if all these web technologies like DHTML, CSS, if you follow this, then Selenium, which it can be deployed, like Selenium can be used in your window Linux and Macintosh. I mean different windows they can be used. And again is user acceptance test, like means it is user compatible, like any user can work on it. But ideally before working on any tool, study the tool first, like how to execute, what to execute, who has given, or I mean, how many powers or changes you can make, and so on. Then Selenium has three components like ID, RC, and grid. Then we have that Selenium itself. It's IT, I mean integrated, complete integrated development for the Selenium test. And earlier section Firefox was followed. Now you can use the Google Chrome also, Firefox extension, so it allow easy development of test. And these are the features. Okay, save test. Now when you write your test script, so this can be saved for your HTML, Java, PHP, and other format. Okay, so Selenium again uses .js files. So that means this can helps you for record and playback, and it can helps you to for your auto complete all your commands, again walk through test cases, test and debug and set breakpoints. So these are the features, these are minimum features that Selenium gave us. So ideally, according to your testing needs, we can identify which tool to use. Some tools are open source, some tools can be purchased. That depends upon firm to firm. And what types of testing can be carried out, what are the defects, those defects are stored in database. I think every tool we have studied, they have their own database, and they have like email. First what we saw is like email contacting or updating you, giving you notification through email. So every software or every tool have their own features, have their own advantage. We need to decide which tool we can work. But before working on every tool, we need to identify the use of the tool, how the tool function, how the tool use. Like minimum tutorial should be read on before working. So here we finished working with all kinds of the tools. Next session we'll see about different types of web page testing or agile testing. Till then, bye.